Canada is in the process of significantly changing our country's energy policy. There is an ongoing dispute between Alberta and Ottawa over renewable energy permit approvals, and the federal environment minister has announced new draft net zero rules and regulations for our energy grids. But what appears to be missing in the energy policy debate is an analysis of what is, and most importantly, not working around the world. Our guest has argued that Canada should learn from the success of U.S. energy policy and avoid the mistakes that have been made in Europe. Well, joining us now to unpack Canadian energy policy is Mr. Mac Van Weilingen, chair of the Business Council of Alberta. Mr. Van Weilingen, thank you again for your time today.
For sure. It's a pleasure to be here.
We appreciate your time, sir. Now, I've read your recent contribution to the Globe and Mail. In it, you've argued that
Right.
Europe's approach to energy policy has created a lot of problems. So, can you explain to us where Europe went wrong, and is Canada maybe mirroring some of those mistakes?
Yeah, I think to an extent we have been mirroring some of those mistakes, and but as you point out in your introduction, the argument is very simply to learn from Europe and some of the countries in Europe who have presented themselves as global climate leaders, notably Germany and the United Kingdom. And the main point is the fixation and the narrowness on decarbonization and reducing emissions, however essential it is, caused a certain blindness, in a sense, to other essential basics of energy policy, notably security, but also reliability, that the energy is there when needed, and very, very importantly, affordability, and affordability not just at the household level, but through businesses and through to industry to maintain the competitiveness of that country and markets. And it was that fixation on one essential outcome, and I'm not arguing that it isn't essential, that created a reduced focus on other very, very important outcomes for society.
So, where exactly did Europe go wrong in terms of its clean energy policy, especially during Russia's invasion of Ukraine?
Well, what they did was they phased out. They were phasing out nuclear, and they have phased out nuclear. Now they were phasing out coal. They were limiting and prohibiting natural gas development, including the receiving facilities for LNG, or at least Germany was, and they were doing it at all at the same time, and so it really wasn't implemented effectively, and they took way too much implementation risk, which is now obvious, and particularly on the security side. But there was a convergence of all of these policies and a lack of, quite frankly, of pragmatism in understanding their impact.
All right, sir. Now, in your report, you highlight the U.S. approach as far more pragmatic and yielding better results. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the U.S. compares?
Well, the key about the US, the main point I'm making there is not so much about results. It's that the US now represents an alternative model. And I think one can reasonably expect, and the early indicators are that they will get great results. I mean, certainly you're seeing a very powerful investment response to new U.S. Policies, but broadly, the U.S. model, it puts security of energy right up front,
All right, sir.
and Europe didn't. And the Europe model is, or pardon me, the U.S. model is energy source neutral. They're not trying to pick what is the best energy source. They're technology neutral, and it's integrated with these other essential needs within society around affordability and economic competitiveness. And they're doing it largely through incentives, through heavy-handed regulations.
Something to learn from, sir. Just a quick 30 seconds left here, but what would the ideal clean energy policy look like for Canada from your perspective?
Well, I think we're actually moving there. I mean, we have a lot of people don't realize that Canada's electricity grid is already one of the cleanest in the world, order of magnitude 82% of our power is coming from emission-free sources. And I think that puts us number 5 or number 6 in the world of 200 countries, 200 plus countries. I mean, it's really quite incredible. And but where we have some issues is in certain parts of Canada, notably Alberta and Saskatchewan and Nova Scotia, where they don't have hydroelectric power and they've had to rely more on fossil fuels. And so we need to be flexible and pragmatic in those regions of Canada. And if we're not flexible and pragmatic, you're going to see a real loss of functionality and the cooperation that is needed to be able to move forward and meet our clean energy ambitions.
Some food for thought, Mr.
But
Van Weilingen. Unfortunately, we are a little out of time,
that's
but we
okay.
sincerely
Sure.
appreciate your time today, sir. Thank you.